It's Playhouse, Y94. Well, there's subjects that have always been kind of contentious and taboo, and then there's ones that maybe just kind of ebb and flow, and sometimes they get worse with time. And while this is probably always dangerous territory, it's gotten worse. Having different political views destroying relationships.
I can see that. I mean, it's literally destroying families. Like if you have an uncle, aunt, sibling, friendships, I see it happen.
You know, maybe you see it, like you said, friends, family. But now what's happening is people are going on these first couple of romantic encounters, swiping, matching, meeting somebody. And once they sense like, oh, you have a vastly different political view than I do, now you're done. You're written off. Well, these times we're going to do a second date update. They're going to be like, oh, they're a Democrat. They're a Republican. They're the opposite of me.
I bet you, though, that's more easy to pick up on why the person isn't reaching back out to you. And you don't feel like you got ghosted.
You don't feel the need to be like, Y94, help me.
Yeah, because I think sometimes it can get heated.
So do you think that people with vastly different political views could have a romantic relationship or never?
It depends. Like, are there certain things you agree on, or are we talking too strong on both sides?
It's funny because if you asked a couple of years ago, maybe I'd have said, oh, yeah, sure, you can figure that out. But I think that, the answer is going to change depending on the era of time you live in. And I think right now it would be tough.
Right now, yeah, especially, I think, so hard. I think there are some things you can have, but it can't be both extremes.
Is there anyone in the Playhouse family that has had this tear up a romantic relationship, or did you manage to make it work? In my mind, it's like you like two different sporting teams. You got to somehow figure out, can we make this work? How do we find balance? We're seeing some people getting burned by this.
Yeah, someone said it works as long as neither of you are fanatic about it. My boyfriend and I can disagree on about 80% of politics, but if there are some things you can agree on and you're not constantly fighting, you can make it work. Someone did say, yes, my husband and I have been on opposite sides for 30 years. Makes for great debates. Keeps life interesting. People need to grow up and learn to disagree again. And lots of people are saying, nope, once I find out, won't continue another date with you.
Totally different views, but can you make it work?
So I think if they love each other enough and try to keep political discussions to a minimum, that it's possible.
Okay, so if you see differently, maybe you just don't talk about that a ton.
Yeah, like if you start posting like extremely political stuff on social media or like, I don't know, wearing different political gear, that might stir something up. If you keep it to a minimum and you just try to avoid talking politics, then I think love can prevail.
You almost have to have that conversation where it's like, listen, we see things very differently and we're never going to sway each other, so we're just going to have to leave that out of conversation.
Yeah, someone said they tried it, but it didn't work. We tried not to talk about it, but once a news notification would come up, we'd start screaming, never again. It doesn't work. If they don't match your values, you might as well just stay single.
People with totally different views on politics, can they make it work? It's ruining relationships, apparently.
If we were talking back in the 90s, I would say absolutely. I feel, unfortunately, we are past that point. It's becoming very hard to see everyone's point of view when it feels like everything's just so out of whack. And it's just like we can't exist today where we can reach across the lines to try to understand each other. There's just been so much horrible things on both sides going on that it feels like it's just so difficult to maintain any basic composure around friends and family.
Got it. So for you, it creates intense relationships from the sounds of it.
Yeah, someone said, I can handle different views on many things, taxes, other things, but if we disagree on basic human rights, that's a wrap, and it's a line you don't want to cross. Someone said, no way, politics aren't just opinions anymore. They're a reflection of your morals and how you see people's rights. Someone said, I think it's more about the person. As long as they're kind, hardworking, they treat you right, they can vote for whoever they want.
You think that destroys relationships? Can you make it work?
I think it could work. Actually, I grew up in a household where it could work. My mom was for someone else and my dad was for someone else, but they would joke around a lot with it. So it doesn't have to be intense and to the point where it's going to break up your marriage. No, they'll be like, hey, you see what your congressman did? You see what your president did? They kept it like that. Like, oh yeah, I hate that I voted for him or whatever. Or yeah, they'll come in and brag and say, look what we did today. So it's like football teams. You know what I'm saying? So I think it can happen.
More coming up next.